Who are you? What are you doing here? Is there a circus around here somewhere?
A circus? Yeah. Yeah, there must be a circus. A clown, a circus, an officer, a war. That's logic, isn't it?
But it doesn't figure at all. Not at all.
Hey, what's up everyone? Our Twilight Zone Marathon Reviews continues with an episode that broke my brain. Today, we'll be discussing 5 characters in search of an exit. This was episode 14 from season 3, directed by Lamont Johnson and written by Rod Serling. It was based on an unpublished short story by Marvin Peddle called The Depository. As usual, spoilers are ahead.
Clown, hobo, ballet dancer, bagpiper, and an army major. A collection of question marks. No logic, no reason, no explanation. Just a prolonged nightmare in which fear, loneliness, and the unexplainable walk hand in hand through the shadows. In a moment, we'll start collecting clues as to the whys, the whats, and the wheres. We will not end the nightmare, we'll only explain it. Because this is the Twilight Zone.
What would you do if you woke up trapped in a bizarre prison with 4 other people and none of you had any idea who you were, where you were, why you were there, or how you'd get out? If that sounds like a bleak, hellish nightmare, I don't blame you. From the moment this episode starts, we're thrown right into a disturbing mystery.
What's going on here? Where are we? What are we? Who are we?
None of us knows, Major. We don't know who we are.
The mystery presented in this episode was a great hook. I know it got me. In the opening narration were promised clues, so on my first watch I found myself paying close attention to the dialogue and actions of the 5 players. The 2 biggest clues up front were a giant light from above and a loud deafening bell that would randomly ring. There's also an open ceiling, a possible way out, but seemingly way too high to climb. I identified mostly with the Major, the new guy, dumped into this insane situation, and he's the one that wants to get out the most. Everyone else has already been there for an undisclosed amount of time, so they're somewhat resigned to their fate. That is until the Major started kicking up dust. As the tale unfolds, things go from unnerving and claustrophobic to just downright odd, as we learn none of the characters even have any need for food or water. Since food and water are basic human needs, this is actually a major clue that something fantastical is going on. The most relatable aspect of this tale was just watching the characters interacting and offering up their theories to help explain the situation.
Maybe we're all insane.
We're dead. And this is limbo.
We're dream figures from somebody else's existence.
Or we're each of us having a dream, and everyone else is part of the other person's dream. You call it. You can have it. That's the one thing we have an abundance of. Possibilities.
The closest comparison I could think of to this scenario is maybe being trapped in an elevator or stuck in a subway train. Whenever this has happened to me, the first thing that pops into my head is what's going on and of course the instant desire to get out. However, in this story, the circumstances are far more drastic. Considering how unnatural and torturous this situation seems, the explanation suggested by the Major seems to be the one that's most plausible.
We, all of us, we are in hell. God help us. We are in hell.
Despite being told there's no way of escape, the Major insists he's getting out. Eventually, he suggests forming a human tower, with each person on each other's shoulders. Hey, why not? I found myself right there with these characters in their struggle, rooting for them to get out, sharing in their frustration. But by the time the ballerina reached the top, she was still a few inches short. Suddenly, the mystery bell rang again, shaking the cylinder and sending the 5 characters right back down. Now, since the Tower of People plan was actually pretty solid, and it's not like they had any other options, they tried again. This time, the Major used his sword, he made a grappling hook out of pieces of clothes, and they gave it another go. After reforming their Tower of People, the Major managed to grapple onto the edge of the cylinder, but when he turned to check out the surrounding area, he fell. By this point, even the clown inside had stopped laughing, and admitted that maybe the Major was right after all. They were in hell. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. As the big twist revealed, they were all toys. As the scene cut to a little girl picking up the Major from the snow. Turns out the cylinder was actually just a collection barrel for a girl's orphanage. The light was simply a street light, and a loud clanging was the ringing bell used by a woman to attract donations. So, happy holidays, I guess.
Like everybody's attention, Christmas is canceled.
Just a barrel. A dark depository where are kept the counterfeit make-believe pieces of plaster and cloth wrought in the distorted image of human life. But this added hopeful note, perhaps they are unloved only for the moment. In the arms of children, there can be nothing but love. A clown, a tramp, a bagpipe player, a ballet dancer, and a major. Tonight's cast of players and the odd stage, known as the Twilight Zone.
This was another solid Twilight Zone. We began with a nearly blank slate, a strange mystery, and a bare minimum of hints sprinkled throughout. A classic setup for a classic Twilight Zone. Everything up to and including the big twist worked very well, with strong performances all around. For me, there's two ways to look at this episode. First, it works well enough as a bizarre mystery that keeps you guessing. The struggle that the 5 characters went through was certainly relatable, playing off of basic fears of claustrophobia and being trapped with no way out. Again, I was rooting for them to escape. I also really like that there's a positive message in here about working together. Granted, the toys may have failed to escape their small prison, but only by uniting and coming together did they at least come the closest they ever did to reaching their goal. This episode also had possibly one of the most unique twists the show ever had. We were told in Rod Serling's closing narration that the characters were unloved only for the moment and awaiting children to take them as their own.
Perhaps that's who we are. The unloved.
So, it's a pleasant thought that in time, each of these characters will find new playmates and have new lives. At this point, I have to mention the obvious similarity to the Toy Story franchise. Toy Story is probably the most popular tale about toys coming to life, but the concept itself has been seen before in other movies and TV as well. I also wanted to note this group of toys is very random. I'm not sure how they ended up in a collection barrel. Maybe they would have preferred being stuck on an island. As far as my second take, well, that goes back to what I mentioned earlier about the episode breaking my brain. I think 5 characters in search of an exit can also be seen as a story that's more about the journey than the destination. In addition to trying to escape, the bulk of the episode also featured the 5 characters theorizing and trying to just solve the mystery. And that was my favorite part. The back and forth between the characters, the back and forth between the Major and the Clown in particular, was a highlight. The philosophical questions which were tossed out along the way really got me thinking.
What's up there? You name it. Sky, artificial light, a fluorescent lamp, an illuminated microscope. You name it. One guess is as good as the other.
These characters exist in a small, unknown void, lacking purpose and meaning. That, in and of itself, is like a horrible dream you just want to wake up from. I do think you can almost look at these 5 people as a microcosm. The characters seem to have their own philosophies. We get shades of fatalism from the Clown and tribalism from the other 3. And of course, there's the Major, who's struggling like heck to find his identity and define himself while trapped in an absurd and completely illogical world.
Who are we?
So all of the major isms are here. Even the title itself is a reference to Luigi Pirandello's 1921 play 6 Characters in Search of an Author. Pirandello is well known for his work in the theater of the absurd, a movement heavily influenced by existentialism. Lastly, religion was suggested as well, with God and hell being explicitly mentioned.
God help us. We are in hell.
So, this is yet another episode I recommend. I especially hope to hear from you about this one, because it was an interesting one. I give it 4 out of 5 spooky clowns. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this, please consider subbing. It really helps the channel. Take care. Later.
Yeah.